Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a really deep plunge into something pretty complex, often hidden in relationships, covert emotional manipulation.
It's a heavy topic, but so important. It touches on things that can, feel both universal, but also incredibly personal. Hits right at your sense of self.
Right. It's about that under-the-surface control.
Exactly.
So our source for this deep dive is excerpts from 30 Covert Emotional Manipulation Tactics, How Manipulators Take Control in Personal Relationships by Adelyn Birch. And, well, doesn't really hold back.
No, it definitely lays things bare. So our mission today is basically to unpack what this covert stuff is, understand how it works, how it affects you specifically.
And learn the signs, yeah, based on what the source says, and maybe find some strategies to protect yourself.
That's the goal. To get right to the heart of it for you, the listener, help you understand the complex bits, spot those aha moments,
Like a shortcut through the weeds.
Kind of, yeah. Your guides through the material, helping you see the patterns the source reveals.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's unpack this. The source starts with a definition. What is covert emotional manipulation? Why covert?
Well, the source defines it as underhanded methods of control. Tactics designed to fly under your conscious radar, they're hidden.
Okay.
And the whole point is to change your behavior, your perceptions, without you consciously realizing you're being, well, manipulated or pushed around.
So it's stealthy,
Yeah.
not upfront.
Yeah.
And the source mentions certain people are particularly skilled at this, the dark triad.
That's right. The book points to individuals with psychopathic, narcissistic, or Machiavellian traits. It calls them the most skillful and, frankly, dangerous manipulators.
Dangerous because?
Because, according to the source, they have this profound lack of empathy. They manipulate purposefully, purely for their own gain, even if it really hurts others.
And they can seem charming on the outside.
Oh, absolutely. That's often part of the disguise. Hiding malicious intent behind a likable persona. But the source makes a really key distinction here. That while, okay, maybe lots of people use manipulative tactics sometimes, maybe without even realizing it.
Yeah, happens, right.
But the pathological manipulator, for them, it's not occasional. It's their only way of relating to people. It's core to who they are.
And the source says that that kind of deep-seated manipulation, it's not something you can just fix within the relationship.
That's a really stark point the source makes. It underscores the severity, especially when you're dealing with that level of ingrained behavior.
Okay, so if it's hidden, and some manipulators are that, dedicated to it, what does it do to the person on the receiving ends? What's the cost, according to the source?
The effects are profound, and they build up. The source explains it systematically undermines your ability to make choices in your own best interests.
Like it pushes you to do things you wouldn't normally do.
Exactly. Things against your values, your boundaries, compromising yourself bit by bit.
Well,
and it gets worse. Over time, it chips away at your self-worth, your confidence. It really damages your trust in your own perceptions. What you see, hear, remember.
makes you doubt yourself.
Terribly. The source says it can lead you to develop a totally warped sense of reality. You end up feeling like your self-worth is completely in their hands. It's debilitating.
They really target your core sense of self.
They do. And the source identifies 3 things a malicious manipulator needs to succeed. They have to know your vulnerabilities.
Okay.
They have to hide their aggressive goal.
Right, the covert part.
And they have to be ruthless. Just not care about the damage they inflict. Control is the only thing that matters.
That hidden aggression, it uses your own trust, your doubts, even your emotions against you.
Precisely. They might even deliberately stir up feelings like guilt or fear or shame just to keep you off balance, stop you from thinking clearly.
Which makes just being aware of these methods so critical, like the first line of defense.
Absolutely vital.
But okay, if it is so hidden, how do you even spot it when you're in the thick of it? The source says something surprising, that the evidence isn't always in their actions, but in yours.
Yeah, this is such a crucial pivot in the book. It says, look inward. The negative effects on you, the psychological footprints, that's your most reliable evidence.
So I don't need to be a detective analyzing their every move.
Not necessarily. The way you feel, the changes in you, tell the story. The source lists, I think, 19 signs you might notice in yourself.
Wow. So your own experience becomes the diagnostic tool. Okay, let's talk about some of those signs. What might you feel like internally?
A really big one the source highlights is when that initial joy, that excitement about the relationship, it just morphs into this constant fear of losing it.
Oh, wow.
Your whole mood gets tied to the state of the relationship, crazy highs, devastating lows.
So you find yourself unhappy or maybe just uncertain most of the time.
Yeah.
But you're terrified to leave because sometimes it feels amazing.
Exactly that. It's a terrible internal tug of war. Then there's the self-blame and confusion cluster. You feel responsible for all the problems, but you honestly can't figure out what you did wrong. The whole relationship feels incredibly complicated, almost impossible to explain to others.
And you just obsess over it, analyzing every little thing.
Constantly. Replaying conversations, trying to figure out where you stand, which of course leads to perpetual anxiety.
Makes sense. You never feel secure.
Never. And that often leads you to constantly ask them, is something wrong? Or you're always feeling defensive, misunderstood, trying to justify yourself.
The source also mentioned something fascinating.
Ah.
You might feel like you've suddenly developed problems like insecurity, jealousy, mistrust, maybe anger issues that you never had before, and then they point those things out in you.
It's incredibly cruel, isn't it? They create the environment for those feelings, then use your reaction as proof that you're the problem.
Wow.
This can even lead to feeling like you need to, check up on them, look at their phone, their social media, trying to find some solid ground in all the uncertainty they've created.
And all the while, you feel like you just can't make them happy anymore. Nothing works, even though it used to.
Yes, and you feel like you can't express negative feelings, like you have to censor yourself, that feeling of being stifled.
And critically, your self-image takes a hit.
Huge hit. You don't feel as good about yourself. You feel less than, always falling short, inadequate.
And that inadequacy probably fuels the guilt,
Yeah.
making you apologize all the time, blame yourself when they pull away.
Absolutely. It creates this dynamic where you're constantly walking on eggshells, carefully managing everything you say and do.
That sounds exhausting.
It is, and sometimes that pressure leads to emotional outbursts you've never had before, which just feeds the cycle of shame and self-blame.
And maybe the biggest red flag. You start doing things that go against your own values, your own boundaries, just to keep them happy or keep the relationship going.
That's a massive warning sign. Your core self is being compromised. The source adds a really important note here, too. If this whole pattern of signs keeps showing up in relationship after relationship on you, it might point to something deeper that needs professional help to understand and address.
That makes sense. But it still begs the question, why stay? If it feels this bad, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the fear, why does anyone stay?
The source tackles this directly. It's not simple. It usually starts with that intense honeymoon phase. They seem perfect. The connection feels incredible, like a soulmate.
Right, the initial hook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That creates a really powerful bond, a strong memory you desperately want to get back to. So when things go bad, the manipulation often tricks you into thinking you're the problem.
So you try harder to fix yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
You work harder to fix yourself and save the relationship. Instead of recognizing their behavior as the actual issue, it's this insidious, gradual escalation.
Your sense of reality gets warped slowly.
It does. You get caught in this cycle of promised rewards and threatened losses. They give you a taste of that initial bliss, then pull it away, creating this constant uncertainty and desperate need to regain their approval.
The source mentions former FBI profiler Joe Navarro has some simple questions to cut through this.
Yeah, really useful. He suggests asking yourself straight up, are they using charm or specific behaviors just to control you or others for their own benefit?
Okay.
Are they manipulating you? Are they doing things that hurt you or put you at risk?
Yeah.
Does the relationship feel totally one-sided? And simply, are you hurting in this relationship?
And if the answers are leaning towards yes,
then, according to the source, that's a pretty strong sign the relationship is toxic, no matter how much you might wish it weren't true. Emotional manipulation on this level is emotional abuse.
meaning they don't truly value you or care about your well-being.
Fundamentally, no. Which brings us back to awareness. Recognizing these signs, asking these questions, that's your primary defense.
Okay, so let's get into the how. How do they create this awful dynamic? Let's look at the manipulator's toolkit, their tactics. The source lists 30, but let's hit some key ones.
Right. Understanding the specific tactics helps you see the mechanics, the concealed aggression the source talks about. Maybe we can group some by their effect.
Good idea. How about tactics that twist reality or shift blame? There's backing into an emotional corner.
Oh yeah, this one's nasty. So you try to confront them about something they did,
Okay.
and they intentionally provoke you. Say something to make you angry or frustrated or maybe burst into tears.
And they use your reaction against you.
Bingo. They point to your emotion and say, see? You're the unstable one. You're overreacting. You're crazy. The whole point is to distract from their original behavior and put the focus squarely on your supposed emotional problem.
Instantly puts you on the defensive, feeling ashamed for just reacting.
Exactly. Which ties right into shifting the focus.
Similar idea.
Very. You bring up a concern, maybe you even have proof. They immediately deny it, act totally shocked and offended, and then pivot straight to attacking your character. You're just insecure, you're so jealous, you clearly don't trust me. You become the problem even when your concern was totally valid.
The source even says the sheer audacity of it can make you doubt yourself.
It's designed to throw you off balance. And then, of course, there's blaming the victim. Pretty self-explanatory.
Making you feel responsible for everything wrong.
Yeah.
For the relationship failing.
Yes. It keeps you stuck in that self-blame loop we talked about. And the source points out they might even manipulate other people, friends, family, getting them to believe you're the one at fault.
Oh, that's isolating. Devastating.
Terribly so. Okay, how about tactics involving false closeness or using other people? Premature disclosure is one.
Revealing secrets early on.
Yeah, they share seemingly deep, vulnerable stuff about themselves really fast. It creates this illusion of instant intimacy and trust.
Makes you feel safe to open up.
Exactly, which means you reveal your vulnerabilities, your weak spots, which they can then, catalog and potentially use later.
Wow. Calculating.
And then there's triangulation. This is where they deliberately bring a third person into the mix.
Like an ex. Or a coworker.
Could be anyone. An old flame, someone they work with, even just someone they flirt with openly in front of you.
Why? To make you jealous and insecure.
That's exactly the goal. Makes you anxious about your position, makes you try harder to please them to win their attention back. They might make subtle digs comparing you to the other person. And then naturally, if you call them on it, they blame your insecurity. The source adds they might even be grooming that third person as their next supply.
Okay, let's shift to more subtle verbal stuff. Tactics that chip away at self-worth. Indirect insults and abuse.
Right. This is where criticism is disguised as something else, a joke maybe, or advice, or even a backhanded compliment.
Like commenting on your weight by saying an outfit is slimming, or calling you adequate.
Exactly, those kinds of things. Designed to plant seeds of doubt, undermine your confidence, but subtly, so they can deny any bad intention if you react.
Claiming you're too sensitive.
Precisely. Very similar is insinuating comments or compliments. Carefully worded things that just leave you feeling off, uncomfortable, hurt maybe, questioning what they really meant.
And again, they deny it if confronted.
Oh yeah. Total innocence, you misunderstood me. The source gives a really stark example of a partner saying something like, you could make a lot of money as a prostitute after sex, and then claiming it was meant as a compliment about skill. It just leaves you reeling.
That's disturbing. The source also talks about using guilt and shame. Guilt seems common.
It really is. Explaining your conscience, your desire to be good, making you feel bad for not doing what they want.
Like, how could you do this to me after everything I've done for you?
Classic. Or if you really love me, you would. It's all about manipulating your behavior through obligation and guilt.
And shame goes even deeper, the source says.
Yes, because guilt is about something you did, but shame targets who you are. Manipulators use put-downs, sarcasm, constant comparisons to make you feel fundamentally unworthy of respect. It attacks your core identity. Really damaging.
What about when words and actions just don't line up? Empty words.
Oh, a big one. Making grand promises, saying all the right things. I love you, you're the only one, I promise I'll change. But there's zero follow-through, no consistent action to back it up.
You just use the words to keep you hooked.
Exactly. Feed your need for validation, keep hope alive. But ultimately, the words are meaningless. The source is crystal clear. Judge them by their actions, period.
Okay, then there are two that directly mess with your sense of reality.
Well,
Crazy making and gaslighting.
Right. Crazy making is like denying things they definitely said or did. Insisting something never happened when you have a clear memory of it, it makes you start questioning your own recall.
Little things that make you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And gaslighting is more intense.
Much more. Gaslighting is systematic, it's prolonged, it's constantly denying or distorting your reality.
Like saying it's all in your head, or you're imagining things.
Yes, or flat out that never happened. The goal is to completely erode your trust in your own mind, your own perceptions, your memory.
Making you dependent on them to tell you what's real.
It's terrifying. The source gives examples like denying the angry tone they just used, or denying they ever discussed commitment when they clearly did, or even like moving objects and denying it.
Just to make you feel like you're losing your mind?
Exactly. These small destabilizing things add up. Minimizing is another key one for when they are confronted.
Saying you're overreacting or making a big deal out of nothing.
Precisely. Brushing off their bad behavior when you call them on it. The source warns this isn't just dismissive, it's a huge red flag that the behavior isn't going to stop. They're not taking responsibility.
Then there's the silent treatment.
Yeah.
That sounds just painful.
It is. Refusing to talk, to engage as punishment. The source says it conveys utter contempt, makes you feel invisible, worthless, powerless. One expert quoted actually calls it a torture technique because of the intense psychological distress it causes.
Wow. And finally, the source points to creating fear as sort of an umbrella tactic.
Yeah, many of these tactics feed into creating fear, especially the fear of losing them, losing the relationship.
And that's powerful because
Because they are the source of the fear, but they're also positioned as the only ones who can relieve it by switching back to being nice, giving you crumbs of affection. That dynamic gives them incredible control.
which leads us right back to one of the most powerful tactics the source really unpacks, intermittent reinforcement. Let's dive deeper into why this is such an effective hook. The source talks about a manipulative shift.
Right. The manipulative shift is that crucial moment the source identifies, when the joy you first felt turns into this pervasive fear of losing the relationship. That's the pivot. That's when they gain real control.
And intermittent reinforcement is how they maintain it.
Exactly. It's about alternating the bad stuff, the fear, the neglect, the criticism with unpredictable, random moments of good stuff.
Like sudden affection, or praise, or just a glimpse of that person you first fell for.
Yes. Random rewards. The source uses some powerful analogies.
Like the slot machine one.
Perfect analogy. You put your money in, you invest emotionally, you try to please, wreaking loss, you pull the lever, most times nothing. But then, randomly, unpredictably, a small win, a little payout.
And that keeps you playing.
It does. That unpredictable reward gives you a jolt, a dopamine hit, relief, excitement. It strongly reinforces the behavior, pulling the lever, seeking their approval, even though overall, you're losing.
Or the lab rat example, pressing the lever for random food pellets.
Same principle. The randomness makes the behavior incredibly persistent, compulsive even. The source notes something really counterintuitive: the less frequent those good moments become.
The more hooked you get trying to get them back.
Bizarrely, yes. The anticipation, the desperate hope for that next fix of kindness or attention becomes incredibly compelling.
So the emotional roller coaster isn't just a side effect, it's the mechanism. Dopamine hits from the highs, fear driving the desperate seeking during the lows.
It's absolutely the mechanism, designed to increase their power, keep you off balance, and dependent on them for any sense of relief or validation. The source links this directly to traumatic bonding.
That phenomenon where people become strongly attached to their abusers.
Yes. Dutton and Painter's work on traumatic bonding suggests these strong, unhealthy attachments form precisely because of this power imbalance and the intermittent cycle of good and bad treatment. The sheer unpredictability creates intense emotional arousal that perversely strengthens the bond, makes it incredibly hard to break free.
And the source says it often starts subtly. A missed call here, less affection there, the small criticism, and then it ramps up.
It's usually gradual. But those occasional moments where they seem like their old self again, that keeps the hope alive, fuels the addiction.
Okay, so how on earth do you fight something that feels almost biological, that taps into these reward pathways so effectively?
It's tough. The source really emphasizes constantly evaluating the relationship's trustworthiness based on the present, not clinging to that initial fantasy, not banking on hope for the future.
Looking at their actual behavior now. Consistency, dependability, how they treat you day to day.
Exactly. Can you actually rely on them to be kind, respectful, consistent? Skilled manipulators are great at gaining trust, but terrible at maintaining it because their core motivation is self-serving. And critically, the source brings it back again to paying attention to the signs in yourself.
Those 19 signs we talked about.
Your internal state, the anxiety, the confusion, the fear, the shrinking self-worth, those are your reliable indicators that this dynamic is playing out. You simply don't feel that way in a healthy, secure relationship.
So look for the hallmarks of healthy connection instead.
Right. Things like real intimacy, commitment, consistency, balance, genuine love, trust, respect. And pay attention to the power dynamic. Who seems to care less? The source notes that person often holds the cards in these manipulative games.
And asking that key question, is this real emotional intimacy or is it just tricked up intensity?
Which leads us perfectly into another really critical deep dive from the source: invalidation. The book uses incredibly strong terms for this: psychological murder, soul murder.
That language really grabs you.
Yeah.
It signals how damaging this is. So what exactly is invalidation?
It's basically rejecting, diminishing, ignoring, judging, or mocking someone else's internal experience, their feelings, their thoughts, their perceptions.
Telling them, in effect, that what they feel or think is wrong, or
Um,
unimportant, or crazy.
Precisely. And the source points out why it's so insidious. It can feel kind of normal sometimes. Society does it. People say things like, oh, just get over it, or you're being too sensitive, sometimes without meaning harm.
But when a manipulator does it,
It's a deliberate weapon, a tool of control and abuse. And fundamentally, it prevents your basic emotional needs from being met.
what needs are those?
The source lists things like the need to be acknowledged, to be accepted, listened to, understood, loved, respected, valued, to feel safe. Invalidation just shuts all that down. It screams a lack of empathy.
And the results are devastating.
Absolutely. It makes you doubt yourself constantly, erodes your confidence, your self-esteem, causes real psychological distress, anxiety, depression. As one expert quoted says, it can literally make you feel like you're going crazy for feeling what you feel or seeing what you see.
Examples the source gives aren't just minimizing, like you're making a big deal out of nothing, but
It's
also
also directly denying your reality. That never happened. I never said that. Or even telling you how you should feel. You shouldn't be angry about that.
and it's not just words, right? Eye rolls, sighs, the silent treatment.
All nonverbal ways of saying your feelings don't matter or your feelings are a problem. How someone responds to your emotions, your perceptions, that's a fundamental test of their respect, their care, their empathy, or their desire to control you.
This ties back perfectly to that distinction the source makes between intensity and intimacy, a vital litmus test, it calls it.
Yes, absolutely crucial for evaluating a relationship's health. That initial, wow, soulmate feeling in a manipulative relationship. The source argues that's usually intensity, not real intimacy.
What does that intensity feel like, according to the source?
It's described as, extraordinary feelings, high drama, constant anxiety, uncertainty, fear, that push-pull dynamic, extreme highs and lows. It feels incredibly powerful, maybe even addictive.
Like the intermittent reinforcement roller coaster.
Exactly. Driven by those chemical reactions, that loss of clear judgment, but it lacks real substance, real stability.
Whereas true intimacy is,
Built on trust, understanding, vulnerability. It's about taking that risk, showing your real self, flaws and all, and feeling safe afterwards. Feeling accepted, not judged or rejected.
so intimacy means emotional safety, patience, respect, consistency, give and take, being okay just as you are.
That's the core of it. The source concludes that the bond created by sheer intensity, that's much more like an addiction, a trauma bond kept alive by that intermittent reinforcement. It's not a healthy connection.
The source states it pretty starkly. A person in a trauma bond is addicted to someone destructive.
Yeah. And it quotes Amanda Domaraki's description of the abuser as the human needle, our drug lord of love. Really captures that addictive, destructive quality.
Wow.
So the litmus test the source suggests is simple but profound. Is this relationship a safe haven? Do you feel loved and accepted for just being you? Do you feel fundamentally understood? That's intimacy. Intensity, on the other hand, is draining, exhausting, and ultimately empty.
Okay, wow. We've covered so much: what manipulation is, the signs in yourself, the tactics, the core mechanisms like intermittent reinforcement and invalidation, and the huge difference between intensity and intimacy. So the big question is, what now? What do you do if you recognize this stuff in your own life?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The source is clear. There's no single easy answer. It really depends on the specifics.
Like how severe the manipulation is, the type of relationship, how much harm has been done.
Exactly, but the source is pretty direct about cases involving pathological manipulators, those with severe personality disorders, where this behavior is just deeply ingrained. If they're causing significant harm to your mental health, your self-worth, your life, then, according to the source, the only real path forward is ending the relationship. It acknowledges how incredibly hard that is, and that support is usually needed, but it's quite clear about the prognosis for change within the relationship being very poor in those severe cases.
And seeking professional help is key there.
Strongly recommended. Therapists who specialize in abuse, domestic violence resources, they're vital. The source also points to books like Navarro's Dangerous Personalities or Simon's In Sheep's Clothing for really understanding that pathological end of the spectrum.
But what if it feels less severe, maybe not pathological, maybe learned behaviors. Is there any hope for change then, even if the source seems skeptical about changing manipulators?
Well, in situations where it might be more about learned manipulative habits rather than a fixed personality disorder, the source suggests other resources could be helpful, like Harriet Breaker's book, Who's Pulling Your Strings. It offers strategies for dealing with more common, maybe less severe manipulative behaviors.
But regardless of the severity, the source really hammers home one piece of advice as being absolutely essential for self-protection. Foundational, even.
Yes. Developing and fiercely defending clear, strong personal boundaries.
Boundaries being the lines we draw.
Exactly. The lines you draw to protect what's important to you, your values, your time, your energy, your physical space, your emotional well-being, your goals. Manipulation at its heart is always about violating those boundaries, whether subtly or overtly. The author mentions her own book on boundaries as a key tool here.
So guarding your boundaries is the fundamental defense against being victimized.
It really is. And the source ends with something incredibly powerful. A list of basic human rights. Rights that manipulators systematically try to make you forget you even have.
Rights that form the foundation for those healthy boundaries.
Precisely. They're like non-negotiable truths about your worth and autonomy that manipulation aims to erode.
Let's highlight a few of those key rights from the source. They feel really empowering.
Okay. You have the right to have your needs and feelings be as important as anyone else's. That directly counters all the invalidation and minimizing.
You have the right to experience and express your feelings, all of them, without being shamed or told they're wrong.
You have the right to not be responsible for someone else's feelings. They own their emotions. You own yours.
Right. You have the right to express your opinions, to set your own priorities, to decide how you spend your time, choose your own lifestyle. Counters that control.
You have the right to change your mind, to change yourself, to change your life situation. You're not stuck.
The right to make honest mistakes,
Oh.
without being punished or defined by them forever.
The right to self-fulfillment, to grow as a person, countering anything that tries to keep you small.
The right to choose your relationships and choose who you share your body with. Resisting any pressure or guilt around that.
Fundamentally, the right to be treated with dignity and respect, always. And the right to be listened to respectfully.
Right to ask for what you want, assertively.
You have the right to say, I don't understand or I don't know, without feeling stupid or less than.
And this feels huge. The right to say no, to set limits and boundaries without feeling guilty, and the right to expect those boundaries to actually be respected.
Yes, that directly combats the guilt trips and the pressure. And finally, maybe most importantly in this context, the right to walk away from toxic or abusive relationships.
You have that right. And the source emphasizes you have the right to have all these rights to stand up for them.
Recognizing them, internalizing them, claiming them, that's your bedrock. That's the foundation manipulation struggles to crack.
We have covered so much ground in this deep dive, from, the insidious nature of this covert stuff to spotting the signs in yourself, the actual tactics manipulators use, and that really critical difference between intensity and real intimacy.
And the big takeaway really is that awareness is the crucial first step. Understanding these dynamics, really tuning into how a relationship makes you feel over time, and knowing your own fundamental rights, the source emphasizes these are incredibly powerful tools.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Kind of brings up one final question to chew on.
Yeah, a provocative thought. The source lists all those basic human rights that manipulation tries to undermine. Take a second, maybe later today, and just reflect. Which one of those rights feels the most vulnerable for you, the hardest for you to assert or hold on to in your relationships, past or present, romantic or otherwise? Identifying and consciously deciding to guard that specific right might just be your most powerful personal defense against falling into these kinds of dynamics.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.